There is a woman in the Bible who led a nation, commanded a general, composed a war hymn, and is described by the text itself as a prophet, a judge, and a mother of Israel. And if you have never heard a full sermon preached about her life, that silence is part of the story. Her name is Deborah. And the reason her story makes people uncomfortable has almost nothing to do with her, and almost everything to do with what her story demands of the reader. Because to sit with Deborah, honestly, you have to sit with a question most people would rather skip, not whether women can lead. That debate has been had 1,000 times and will be had 1,000 more. The deeper question is this: what does it mean when God raises someone up that the system said should not be there? What do you do with a calling that does not fit the category? That is where Deborah lives, right in the middle of that question. And she has been living there quietly for 3,000 years. To understand Deborah, you have to understand the world she walked into. The book of Judges covers a brutal stretch of Israelite history. Joshua has died. The generation that crossed the Jordan and watched the walls of Jericho fall is gone. What follows is a cycle so repetitive the reader starts to feel it in their chest. Israel abandons God. God withdraws his protection. A foreign nation oppresses them. Israel cries out. God raises a deliverer. The deliverer saves them. The deliverer dies. Israel abandons God again. Judges 2 verse 19 describes it plainly. Whenever the judge died, they reverted and behaved more corruptly than their fathers. The cycle does not improve. It spirals. Each rotation lands a nation a little lower than the last. By the time we reach Judges 4, 20 years have passed under the oppression of Jabin, a Canaanite king who reigned in Hazor. His military commander is a man named Sisera, and Sisera is not a minor threat. The text tells us he commanded 900 iron chariots. To understand what 900 iron chariots meant in 1200 BC, imagine a military force with a weapon your side has no answer for. Israel's tribal militias fought on foot with Bronze Age equipment. Sisera's chariots were armored, fast, and devastating on flat terrain. For 20 years, he used them to dominate Israel. Judges 4 verse 3 says the oppression was severe. That is the world Deborah inherits. Not a world that is ready for a woman leader. Not a world that has cleared a path for her. A world in crisis, looking for someone, anyone, who can hear from God. And here's what the text does not do. It does not explain why Deborah is there. It does not apologize for her. It does not footnote her existence with a disclaimer. Judges 4 verse 4 simply says, "Now Deborah, a prophetess, the wife of Lapidoth, was judging Israel at that time." That is how the Bible introduces her. Matter of fact, no fanfare. She was judging Israel. Full stop. The Hebrew word for judge here is shoftet, the feminine form of shofet, the same word used for every other judge in the book. She is not a lesser version of a judge. She is not a temporary placeholder. She is functioning in the full office, prophet, judge, and as we will see shortly, the architect of Israel's military deliverance. She held court under a palm tree between Ramah and Bethel in the hill country of Ephraim. People came to her from all over the region to have their disputes settled. That palm tree became so associated with her that the text names it the Palm of Deborah. Judges 4 verse 5. When a place gets named after you, you have been somewhere long enough to matter. Now here is where the story gets complicated, and where most retellings on both sides of the theological debate tend to rush past the thing that is actually most interesting. Deborah summons a man named Barak, son of Abinoam, from the tribe of Naphtali. She delivers a command that is unmistakably divine in its structure. Has not the Lord God of Israel commanded, "Go and deploy troops at Mount Tabor. Take with you 10,000 men of the sons of Naphtali and of the sons of Zebulun. And against you I will deploy Sisera, the commander of Jabin's army, with his chariots and his multitude at the river Kishon, and I will deliver him into your hand." Judges 4 verses 6 to 7. This is a prophetic military commission. Deborah is not offering a suggestion. She is not relaying her own opinion. She is conveying a divine command in the same voice and structure every other prophet in the Old Testament used. And the command comes with a promise. God will deliver Sisera into Barak's hand. Barak's response has been debated for centuries. "If you will go with me, then I will go. But if you will not go with me, I will not go. Judges 4 verse 8. Some read this as cowardice. Some read it as a reasonable request for the presence of a prophet in a dangerous campaign. Some read it as faith, the same impulse Moses had when he said he would not go unless God's presence went with him. Exodus 33 verse 15. What is not debatable is Deborah's response. I will surely go with you. Nevertheless, the road on which you are going will not lead to your glory, for the Lord will sell Sisera into the hand of a woman. Judges 4 verse 9. She agrees to go, but she reframes what the victory will look like. The glory of this battle will not go to Barak. It will go to a woman. And Deborah says it with a tone that reads less like punishment and more like prophecy. This is just how it is going to happen. They march to Mount Tabor. Sisera musters his 900 iron chariots. And then Judges 4 verse 15 says something the text almost passes over too quickly to catch. And the Lord routed Sisera and all his chariots and all his army with the edge of the sword before Barak. And the next phrase, Sisera alighted from his chariot and fled away on foot. The general with the 900 iron chariots ran on foot. The weapon that had terrorized Israel for 20 years was abandoned on the battlefield by the man who commanded it. And the place Sisera ran to was a tent of a woman named Jael, wife of Heber the Kenite. Jael invites him in. She gives him milk. When he asks for water, she covers him with a rug. He tells her to stand guard and say no one is inside. Then, while Sisera sleeps, Jael drives a tent peg through his temple. Judges 4 verse 21. He dies on the floor of a woman's tent, killed by a woman's hand. Exactly as Deborah had prophesied, Barak arrives in pursuit, and Jael meets him at the door. Come, I will show you the man you are looking for. And there is Sisera, dead, tent peg in his skull. The glory of the battle went to a woman. Both Deborah's word and Deborah's God proved faithful. What follows in Judges 5 is one of the oldest pieces of Hebrew poetry in the entire Bible. Scholars date the Song of Deborah to the 12th century BC, making it one of the earliest texts in the canon. It is raw, vivid, triumphant, and strange. Deborah sings it alongside Barak, and the way she sings, it tells you something about how she understood her own role. She does not sing about herself primarily. She sings about God. She catalogs the tribes who showed up and the tribes who stayed home. She honors Jael with language as fierce as the act itself. Most blessed of women is Jael, the wife of Heber the Kenite, of tent-dwelling women most blessed. Judges 5 verse 24. And in verse 7, she names herself. Village life ceased. It ceased in Israel until I, Deborah, arose. Until I arose, a mother in Israel. Not a general, not a queen, not even a prophet first. A mother, that is the title Deborah chooses for herself. It is worth sitting with, because the Hebrew concept of a mother in Israel is not a domestic diminishment. It is a title of covenantal responsibility. A mother in Israel was someone who preserved life, maintained the community, interceded on behalf of the vulnerable, and kept the covenant alive when everything else was trying to kill it. Deborah understood herself as someone who stood in the gap when the structure around her had failed. Not because she wanted the position, because someone had to. And that is where this story gets genuinely uncomfortable. Not because a woman led, but because of what her leadership was a response to. Go back to the text. Who did God commission first? He commissioned Barak. The divine command came to Deborah, yes, but the command she delivered was addressed to Barak. God had already selected the military leader. He had already promised a victory. He had already identified the army, the mountain, the river. Barak hesitated, not dramatically, not with rebellion, with a condition. If you come with me, I will go. And God, in his sovereignty, did not cancel the mission. He did not pull the calling from Barak and give it to someone else. He sent Deborah with him. He honored Barak's request, but he shifted the narrative arc of the victory. The glory would not land where it was expected to land. This is not a story about women being better than men. It is not a story about men being failures. It is a story about what happens when the expected vessels hesitate, and about a God who is never without a plan B, or in Jael's case, a plan C. The discomfort this story produces is not really about gender roles. It is about the sovereignty of God to use whomever he chooses, however he chooses, whenever the moment demands it. And the reader's discomfort reveals which theological commitment is closer to the surface, the belief that God is bound by our categories, or the belief that God is not. Quick word before we continue. If this kind of careful reading of Scripture matters to you, consider becoming a channel member. That support is what makes it possible to keep doing this work. And to those of you who are already members, thank you. You are part of every word we write. Now, to the part of Deborah's story that almost nobody talks about. The text says Deborah was a wife of Lapidoth. That is all we know about him. One phrase, one mention. He does not appear again. And for centuries, rabbinical and early Christian commentators found this gap uncomfortable in a different direction. If Deborah was so prominent, where was her husband? What does his silence mean? Some ancient commentators tried to solve this by arguing that Lapidoth was actually another name for Barak, that they were the same person. This is not supported by the text. It is the kind of interpretive move people make when the text gives them something they did not expect and they need it to fit. Others focus on the etymology of Lapidoth. The word in Hebrew means torches or flames. Some early Jewish midrash suggested that Lapidoth was not a person at all, but a description of Deborah herself, a woman of flames, the fiery one. This is also not the plain reading of the text, but it shows how much interpretive energy has been spent trying to manage Deborah's existence rather than simply reading it. Because the plain reading is this: she was a married woman. Her husband is not mentioned as a leader, a warrior, or participant in the deliverance of Israel. She is the one who judged. She is the one who prophesied. She is the one who marched to the battle. Whatever her household looked like, it did not prevent her from functioning in the calling God had placed on her life. The New Testament does not mention Deborah by name, but Hebrews 11 lists the heroes of faith and includes the judges in its sweep. Hebrews 11 verses 32 to 33. And what more shall I say? For the time would fail me to tell of Gideon and Barak and Samson and Jephthah, also of David and Samuel and the prophets. Barak is named. The judge who would not move without Deborah standing beside him is named in the Hall of Faith, and Deborah, who stood beside him, is included in the sweep even without her name. There is something quietly just about that. Barak receives the individual mention. Deborah is the one who made the moment possible. The text honors both. But here is a larger point the whole story is pressing toward. Deborah's story is preserved in the canon, not hidden in it, not buried beneath qualifications. Preserved in two full chapters, a narrative account and an ancient poem, both telling the same story from slightly different angles. The Bible did not almost erase Deborah. The Bible kept Deborah. What has sometimes erased her is the selective reading that schemes Judges 4 and 5 without stopping. The preaching tradition that finds her too complicated to address from the pulpit. The theological frameworks that need her story to mean something other than what it plainly says. The woman the Bible almost erased was not erased by the Bible. She was erased by the readers of it. And here is where the story becomes less about Deborah and more about the reader sitting with it right now. Because most people watching this are not judges of ancient Israel. They are not being asked to command armies or compose war poetry. But most people watching this have, at some point, been told by a system, a structure, a person, a tradition, that the calling they carry does not fit the category they occupy. Too young, too old, too female, too unknown, too far from the center of power, too much of something and not enough of something else. The system had a list, and you were not on it. Deborah's answer to that is not a speech. It is a life. She sat under a palm tree and did the work God gave her to do. She delivered the word when it needed to be delivered. She marched when the march was required. And when the battle was over, she named herself not by the title others might have given her, but by the calling she understood in her own heart. Mother in Israel, not defined by the opposition, not performing for the skeptics, not waiting for the structure to validate what God had already set in motion. The question Deborah's story leaves you with is not whether women can lead. The question is whether you are willing to do the work God has given you regardless of who has given you permission to do it. Barak needed permission. He needed the prophet present before he would move. That is not a moral failure. It is a human one. Most of us need someone to walk beside us before we believe the word is real. Deborah walked beside him. She did not shame him for needing her. She went, but she told him the truth about what the going would cost him. The glory would go to a woman, and Barak went anyway. That is its own kind of faith. To go even when you know the story will not be told with your name at the center. To march toward the mountain, even when the prophet has told you the victory will be credited to someone you did not expect. Jael had no commission at all. She was not an Israelite. She was the wife of a man who had made peace with the Canaanites. She had no military training. She had a tent peg in a moment, and she acted. The Song of Deborah calls her the most blessed of women, not for her credentials, for her courage in the moment she was given. 3 women framed this story: Deborah, who spoke the word; Jael, who finished the battle; and the mother of Sisera, whom the song mentions in the final stanza, waiting at the window for her son to return, not yet knowing he is dead on the floor of a stranger's tent. Judges 5 verses 28 to 30 records her waiting. Her attendants tell her he is probably dividing the spoil, probably distributing embroidered cloth to the women he has conquered. They are wrong. He is not coming back. And the song ends there, in the silence of that window, with a woman who served the wrong kingdom waiting for a victory that will never arrive. The contrast is deliberate. Deborah and Jael stand in God's story. The mother of Sisera stands at a window, watching for a story that ended without her. The question the whole of Judges 4 and 5 is asking is not a gender question. It is a kingdom question. Whose story are you in? Which side of that window are you on? Are you doing the work of the calling, however it came in whatever form it takes? Or are you waiting for a victory built on a wrong foundation? Deborah did not wait. She was already under the palm tree when the moment came. She was already doing the smaller work before the larger one was required. And when the larger one came, she was ready. That is a life of faith the book of Judges holds up as its standard, not perfection. The Judges were a deeply flawed collection of men and women. But this particular judge, sat under a palm tree and held a line for Israel until God moved. The Bible did not almost erase her. It kept her in 2 chapters, in ancient poetry, in the Hall of Faith, in the name of the city where she judged, in the palm tree that still carries her name in the text. It kept her because her story is not a footnote. It is a foundation. The same God who raised Deborah up in 1200 BC, the same God who chose Jael's tent as the place where a tyrant's story would end, the same God who told Barak the glory would go somewhere he did not expect, is the same God who is still unbothered by categories that cannot contain him. He is still raising up people the system did not select. He is still delivering words through voices the structure did not clear. He is still working through tent pegs and palm trees, and ordinary people who were simply willing to be present when the moment arrived. So if you have been told your calling does not fit the category, sit with Deborah, not to win an argument, not to prove a point, but because 3,000 years of canon say this. God kept her story. He thought it was worth keeping. And if he thought it was worth keeping, you might want to read it slowly. She did not wait for permission. She did the work. And when the battle was over, she sang. If this brought clarity where there was confusion, subscribe and leave a comment. Share it with someone who needs to hear it. Pray for us as we keep this work going. And may the God who sees past every category and every system find you willing, wherever you are, to do the work you were made for. God bless you.